Time for another Hall of Fame edition of CA Stories Confidential.
Thanks, KG. Thanks, Ruben. And thanks to all the Tolos for listening, all the listeners over the years. I would not have this crazy interesting life if it wasn't for you guys allowing me to have a lot of fun on the radio, talking sports and entertaining things. And I want to give a couple of quick shout outs before we start off the CA Stories Confidential. If you heard the tease, I'm going to pay it off, I promise you. But I want to give a couple of quick shout outs. Earlier this afternoon, the Mavs take action. I was emceeing this event for the Mavericks that's going to be streamed on their app and on their website. But we were at Carter High School. Shout out to all the Carter Cowboys, currently and in the past. All the kids who are out there, principal, everybody. We were doing a thing about gun violence, especially after Takeoff got shot down there in Houston. Takeoff from the super rap group, the Migos. We were just talking about guns and violence overall, and all the gang unit police officers that were there, and Irving Police, DPD, the different people who represent, because it's all about solutions, you know, not about pointing fingers, it's about coming up with solutions to all these things. So shout out to everybody who was at that event. And again, it's going to be televised. So, or it was televised, or rather they're going to be streaming that, and you'll probably see some of it. It's called The Huddle. And this afternoon, I'm all dressed up. If you're on Twitch, you see me all dressed up, black tie and all this stuff, because I was at this reception for Cajuns versus Cowboys 3, a boxing benefit, benefiting the Good Fight Foundation. A lot of boxing benefits. And I go to a lot of these, but you know, this one I went to as a member of the Texas Boxing Hall of Fame. I was honored to be inducted into the Texas Boxing Hall of Fame last month. I will say this. I've covered a whole lot of fights since 1980 in Texas, Las Vegas, Atlantic City, Madison Square Garden, New York, LA, San Antonio, Fort Worth. Fort Worth be represented strong, y'all. I've covered a lot of fights, championship fights, world title fights, biggest names in boxing. And there's always some crazy stories to go along. And one of them, you might have heard me tell the story before, KG, about how a basketball assistant, or a dude in the how do I put this? In the entourage. You know, all these players got an entourage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dude in the Mavericks entourage, Sam Perkins, former Maverick great Sam Perkins, played for the Lakers, played with Michael Jordan in North Carolina. Sam's my frat brother, and he had this guy in his entourage named John Horn. Have you heard me tell this story before?
No.
Okay. So John Horn, he was just down here in Dallas hanging out with Big Smooth, Sam Perkins, and he was like doing little stuff for him. And then one day he said, man, I'm getting ready to go to Hollywood and become an actor. I was like, all right. And I was like, I ain't never going to see him again. Lo and behold, he went off to Hollywood to become an actor. He never did become an actor. But a couple of years later, it's the NBA All-Star Game in Chicago with Michael Jordan does the slam dunk and, you know, the iconic slam dunk contest against him and Dominique Wilkins. I'm at this All-Star Game, and John Horn comes up to me and goes, Chris, man, how you doing, man? I said, hey, John, what you doing? Man, I thought you was in Hollywood. Oh, I am. Man, guess what? I became real good friends with Robin Givens. And I said, oh, yeah? She's here. She just got engaged last night to Mike Tyson. He's here too. I said, what? Now I already met Tyson, done hung out with Tyson. I had never met Robin Givens before. And she was an actress. She was on TV. And he was like, yeah, man, me and Robin Givens and Brad Pitt were in the same acting class. And I was like, really? I go over there, and there's Tyson and Robin Givens sitting in the crowd at All-Star Saturday. And Tyson goes, Robin, show him the wing. Look at the wing. I just said, yeah, it's good. And she's like, yeah, look at that. And then you know the story about Tyson and Robin Givens. You know
Mike Tyson voice right now, bro.
Well, I've been around him enough. So I'm like, John Horn, okay, Mike Tyson, Robin Givens. Right after he married Robin Givens, or right before he married Robin Givens, his manager, Customato, passed away. The guy that started him in boxing, who got him out of the mean streets of New York and made him into a boxer. Well, he passed away. He was one of them old school boxers, and he would always keep Mike busy having at least a fight every 2 or 3 months. Well, as soon as Customato passed away, Don King stepped into the picture. And of course, Mike Tyson wasn't staying busy. Mike Tyson and Robin Givens got a divorce. Next thing you know, John Horn became Mike Tyson's co-manager. I'm like, what? John Horn and Mike's childhood friend Rory Sparrow became Tyson's co-managers while Don King was his promoter. You know the rest of the story. Tyson goes to prison. This alleged rape situation, I guess it did happen because he went to prison over at the Miss Black America pageant. He goes to prison. Allegedly, respectfully, Don King and everybody took his money. Allegedly, respectively. He gets out of prison, he ain't got no money. How come John Horn got $20-something million and ain't nobody seen him no anymore?
Oh.
It's just a fact.
Oh, he done disappeared, huh?
So to speak. He wrote a book. He talked about how Brad Pitt, Mike Tyson almost beat his ass over the Robin Givens because he was dating her. Brad Pitt was dating Robin Givens back in the day. But John Horn he just fell off and was like, man, he made the smooth move. He went from Sam Perkins, being a little entourage guy, going to Hollywood, taking acting classes with Robin Givens. She marries Tyson. He becomes Tyson's co-manager, wink, wink, nod, nod, working for Don King, keeping an eye on Tyson, trying to keep him out of trouble. And then all of a sudden, Tyson goes to prison, and John Horn makes millions of dollars. Just amazing.
Millions of dollars. Millions of dollars.
Allegedly, respectfully. I'm just saying. That's just one. But I teased about how the wife of this great fighter told, oh boy, if you don't win this next fight, this big time fight, you a P word. And that's a true story. So here's what happened. The late, great, marvelous Marvin Hagler, one of the baddest men on the planet back in the 1980s and early 90s. He was a middleweight, and he was beating every fighter that he fought. And I've been to a number of his fights. One of the greatest fights you will ever see. You can look it up on YouTube. I want to say this fight lasted 3 or 4 rounds. It was Tommy Hearns versus marvelous Marvin Hagler. It was rock'em sock'em robots. These jokers were throwing blows, and they almost knocked each other out. But Hagler knocked out Tommy Hearns. It was crazy. But every second was nothing but action. Usually in these fights, they feel each other out for a round or two, get to see what kind of defense you're throwing up. They didn't care. Tommy Hearns and marvelous Marvin Hagler were like knocking each other out, and then Hagler knocked out Tommy Hearns at the end there. Well, that set up a crazy fight. Sugar Ray Leonard had retired. He had a detached retina, kind of the same thing they have in Earl Smith Jr. A couple years ago. Well, back then, medical science wasn't as good as it was, and they said, you got to retire. You can't see. Well, he had a miracle. An epiphany happened. He said, I can still fight. And I want marvelous Marvin Hagler. And everybody's like, oh, no way. He hadn't fought in 2 or 3 years. Just no way. And marvelous Marvin Hagler is the baddest man on the planet right now. Pound for pound. And Marvin Hagler said, I'll fight him, but I ain't fighting him in Vegas. Because too many crazy things happen with these judges in Vegas. Now, marvelous Marvin Hagler was from Massachusetts, Boston. And he was married, and his wife controlled the money. And she's kind of like Cardi B, always talking that noise, right? She's one of them women that's always talking. She wasn't quiet. She wasn't demure. She was talking. She talked. He was quiet. She did all the talking. He said, I ain't fighting Ray Leonard. And then all of a sudden, all this money became into play. He said, I ain't fighting him. And they said, but he ain't fought in 2 or 3 years. You will be able to knock him out. And his wife told him, you don't need to fight him. He too pretty. But I'm going to tell you something.
Pretty, though.
I'm going to tell you something, marvelous Marvin Hagler. She told him, if you don't knock him out, if you lose this fight, you a P word. It's a fact. Everybody knew this. And that's what Marvin was talking about in the weigh-in and stuff. Oh, I ain't losing this fight. And they had to fight in Vegas to make all the money add up.
He said, I can't go home to my wife talking about I lost this fight.
So I'm at this fight, and it was the biggest fight. There was this buzz in here because Sugar Ray ain't fought in all these years. Do he still have it? You know, and what about, is he going to be able to see in both eyes? And Marvelous Marvin Hagler is so vicious. And I mean, you know, you don't play with Marvin Hagler.
Right.
We're watching this fight ringside, all the media and everybody. And Sugar Ray's dancing. The crowd goes wild when he steps to the ring. He's dancing. He's tapping him. He's piling up the points. But he ain't hurting him. But he's piling up the points. And when the fight was over with, I mean, everybody expected Sugar Ray to get knocked the F out. He didn't. He survived. And he looked good. He was dancing in the rings. He was ducking and dodging. Marvin Hagler couldn't hurt him.
Uh-huh.
And when they announced the unanimous decision, Sugar Ray Leonard, everybody in Vegas was like, yeah. Everybody watching on TV said, Hagler got robbed. I'm doing the updates for K104, and everybody like, man, you was at the fight. Hagler got robbed. I said, no, he didn't. Sugar Ray run that fight. They said, no, the judges robbed him. And then everybody went back to the old adage. If you the champ, you got to knock, if you're going to take the title from the champ, you got to knock him out. I got home and watched the replay. The replay came on Wide World of Sports or whatever. I come back to watch the replay. I went, I'll be damned. He did get robbed. Then people started saying the fight was fixed because they're going to be a rematch. I said, oh, no. This is not a rematch because Marvin Hagler can't stand Sugar Ray Leonard. In fact, his wife said he a P-word if he lose this damn fight to a pretty boy. How come Marvin Hagler went home to Boston, got into domestic violence dispute with his wife, and left the country, moved to Italy, and never came back again?
Oh, boy.
So for all these people who kept saying, oh, no, Marvin, it was fixed, the refs did this, and Marvin was in on because there's going to be a second payday. I said, no, y'all don't understand. And to this day, I kept saying, to this day, I kept saying, y'all don't know. Hagler's wife said, you the P word if you lose this fight. This ain't going to be no rematch fight. Are you kidding me? And then he went and fought her. He had to leave the country. Married an Italian woman over there. Come on now. That's another CA Stories Confidential.
That's wild, man.
Got you down.
I'm sure the oohs and ahs in the crowd that night was, I'm sure, distracting the judges, thinking that they were seeing something that wasn't actually happening.
It was like it was adrenaline. That's all I can say. It was so much electricity in the air and adrenaline that Sugar Ray Leonard survived that fight, and he didn't get hurt himself. He didn't even get a black eye, but he did not hurt Hagler. He just kind of tapped him on the head a few times. But you don't do that to the champ. You got to knock the champ out. I was mad after I left that fight. I mean, after I saw the replay, I was like, everybody was right.